issues of Kenyans in diaspora. We're also talking to Ambassador Romano Rad, who is the Czech Republic ambassador in Beirut, to Lebanon, the ambassador of Czech to Lebanon. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here on KTN News Center. Let me start with Ambassador Romano. You're in Lebanon. Kindly paint for us a picture of how bad the situation is. How many foreigners have been affected by loss of employment due to COVID-19, just apart from Kenyans? Because the video we've seen is just Kenyans who are demonstrating, demanding to be repatriated back home.
Okay, I would like, first of all, to express my condolences to all the Lebanese people who have lost loved ones in Beirut, who have lost somebody. And second, I would like to let you know that I am the ambassador of the human rights from the Czech Republic in Beirut. As we are IHRC, Czech Republic in Beirut, I'm their ambassador. The foreigners who have lost their jobs, they are, there's a large amount of people from Ethiopia, from Kenya, from all over the world, from Sri Lanka. The exact number, I cannot give it to you, but I can tell you that a large amount of Kenyan families are in the streets of Beirut in front of the consulate of Kenya, waiting to return home. They have their children with them, their babies, and some are pregnant and sleeping on the sidewalk. The situation, it's been since the explosion, and many Lebanese people have lost their homes, and they have no place to shelter these families. So they took the workers and dropped them at the consulate.
Dr. Chwotho, give us a break, because you deal a lot, or you handle several issues concerning Kenyans in diaspora. Probably if you can give us the figure of how many Kenyans are stranded in Beirut.
Brenda, allow me first to join Ambassador Romano and in recording my condolences both to the citizens of Lebanon as well as non-nationals who may have perished in the recent catastrophe when there was the blast, and also others who were injured, and among those injured were, I understand, at least one Kenyan, maybe more, and generally to the people of Lebanon and friends of Lebanon. Having said that, I must also compliment Ambassador Romano, and allow me also to compliment Mama Shuja Mudhoni Likimani, who is very passionate about this matter. She's even written a book, My Blood Not for Sale, concerning about our girls who end up working in parts of the world. The situation currently is pathetic, specifically for the Kenyans stuck in Beirut. And in this particular COVID time, which has aggravated the problem. Of course, the economic and political situation in Lebanon in the past months is not a secret. I understand that the Lebanese pound has depreciated by a factor of 5, worsening the situation. So you can imagine, today the dollar is 109 Kenya shillings. You wake up tomorrow, you realize it's about 550 shillings to the $1. That's how much it's impacted the economy. And those are things that probably are beyond human control. But having said that, allow me also to compliment the government of Kenya, because in the past we've worked closely in repatriating Kenyans from other parts of the world, from China, from Korea, from India, from Afghanistan, Iraq.
If you can hear me, just hold on to that part of repatriation of Kenyans, because we'll be getting into that discussion later on. But my question is, how many Kenyans are stranded in Beirut as we speak? Do you have the figures?
Yes. Well, we know that there are about 1,000 Kenyans in Lebanon, I understand 70 registered online with the embassy wanting to come back home.
Ambassador Romano, there is a concern that many Africans from, the people seeking for jobs from the African continent going to the Gulf countries always end up going to another Gulf country that they did not apply for. Hence, all these problems that we're seeing right now.
Yes, can you repeat your question? I didn't exactly understand you.
My question is, what we are seeing right now with several Kenyans who are stranded in Beirut, the capital city of Lebanon. The concern from the embassy in Kuwait, the Kenyan embassy in Kuwait, is some of the stranded Kenyans in Beirut did actually have migrated from other Gulf countries to Beirut while seeking for employment.
This is not a problem because all girls who come to Beirut, they have a sponsor. They cannot enter Beirut without a sponsor. So all their documents are legal. They entered legally. They are working here legally. Some maybe have ran away and now they're at the consulate. But the main importance is to issue for them an emergency travel documents and have them sent back home. Because with the young children in the street for the last 15 days and the pregnant women, it is not just for them to be there. Or the consulate need to find for them a hotel or some place to stay where they have adequate clean water for their children, for the families, and proper food. The United Nations have sent them food, but they are in the street. This is not enough.
And Dr. Chwodo, from what we have seen is Kenyans are suffering in a foreign country. And the picture that some of these Kenyans have portrayed is that the government does not care about them. You, as a representative of Kenyans in diaspora, have you reached out to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Brenda, allow me to say I would be a bit slow to hold it against the government of Kenya because government is big. In this particular case, I think it squarely falls on the laps of the ambassador, Kenya's ambassador in Kuwait, under whose jurisdiction Lebanon, Kenyans in Lebanon fall. But two major concerns we have at the moment as Kenya Diaspora Alliance, Brenda, if you permit. First, there is a lady we codenamed Irene, one of the people we have been communicating with, Irene not being her official name, who apparently disappeared 2-3 days ago and nobody knows of her whereabouts. We hope she's safe. We think it's incumbent upon the government and all human rights bodies, both the Republics of Lebanon and Republic of Kenya, to ensure the safety of this Kenyan national. Secondly, we are concerned about the 15 Kenyan girls that Ambassador Romano talked about that are residing on the streets. I understand one of them is heavily expectant. That's very cruel. And another, I understand, has got a 3-month-old baby, as Ambassador has narrated. Certainly, we need immediate action to, one, provide the basic needs, food, accommodate them appropriately, maybe in affordable hotel, as arrangements are made to get them back home. Because no matter whether they are documented or not, if there are Kenyans, they're still our people.
So, Dr. Chwodo, just before I go to Ambassador Romano, let me just, read this for you, what Halima Mohamud, the Kenyan ambassador to Kuwait, said. She says that the mission has instructed the protesters, actually Kenyans who are protesting, you've seen that video on a screen of viewers and on your screens right now, earlier on, and she says that the embassy in Kuwait has instructed the protesters to register with the honorary consulate in Beirut to get travel documents. Have these Kenyans done that?
Brenda, the information we get from Kenyans on the ground, and we listen to a diversity of Kenyans before we get involved in this. And allow me to compliment the African Union, the AU ECOSOC, where I represent East Africa region, through which Ambassador Romano got our contact. And I compliment Ambassador Romano for drawing this matter to our attention yesterday. For the past about 4 or 5 days, we've been communicating with Kenyans. And there are 3 calibers of Kenyans, major categories of Kenyans in Lebanon. There are the professionals, mostly working at the United Nations. Then there are the semi-skilled and unskilled workers, where domestic workers fall. And lastly, there are students. And all those 3 categories corroborate the information I'll share today with the network. It would appear they have beef with the consulate, because when they go to the consulate to get help, they claim, and I have no way to prove this, I gathered, I think towards the end of last year, the embassy in Kuwait was meant to send a team to establish facts. But these are issues that have been reported on our on other TV networks, that there is extortion of Kenyans. But that's something that government needs to investigate, because that would be very serious. The only place Kenyans can go for help is at the embassy or the consulate. And when they go there, and some of them even end up getting arrested, contrary to the 1963 Vienna Convention. And an official of the consulate says, look, the police just came and took away a Kenyan from here. We all know that's not possible unless the head of that mission authorizes or allows police to come in. So there are grievances, but I wouldn't want to wholesale blame government for it. I would squarely put it at the doorstep of our embassy that's responsible.
Let me bring in Ambassador Romano into this conversation. You are in Beirut as we speak, and the Kenyan government through the Kuwait embassy is asking Kenyans to register, and you've interacted with these Kenyans who are stranded in Beirut. Also kindly confirm for us if these Kenyans the Kenyans who are actually demonstrating in Beirut, have they done what is required as stated by the Kenyan government through the embassy in Kuwait?
You have to understand something, that the question or what they are asking the Kenya government for the girls to go and or the families to register on the internet, they're not remembering that there was an explosion and many of them lost their homes, their mobiles is broken, they are in the streets, they don't have access to a computer. This is the consul responsibility to go out and send somebody in the street to let the girls who are in the street to know that they have to register or register it manually. And it is the consulate responsibility to have the information on the list of all the families who are in Beirut, to check on them, call them, ask about their safety, and ask and put a note or something that notifies them about if they would like to travel back home. This is all the consulate responsibility. You cannot hold somebody who is without a home, sleeping in the street, responsibility to register online. This is not fair. This is unjust.
We've been repatriated, because the information that we have from the Kenyan embassy in Kuwait is that about 30 Kenyans have been repatriated from Lebanon back, to come back home.
Yes, they all want to go back home. They all want to go back home. Right now, they're not getting paid. There's a problem with the money exchange. Banks are not providing dollars. People are not able to pay. They all want to go home.
Right. So, Dr. Chua, the government is very clear that for these Kenyans to come back home, Ambassador Romano is saying that their jobs, they don't even have. So, how is this going to be possible for Kenyans who are actually stranded in Beirut?
Brenda, it's important to understand, I have to confess, I'm not too conversant with the situation in Lebanon, but I've had opportunity to work in Arab countries. And I understand there's this system called the kafala system, where somebody surrenders their travel documents to the sponsor. Now, depending on of course, in this particular case, we might have to empathize also with some of the sponsors who may have been victims of the current situation and probably also suffered in the blast. So it is a really convoluted situation we are dealing with, and it's got to take the embassy and the consulate to handle it. So in terms of registering, obviously, government has been encouraging diasporas to register. We do encourage them to register both at the embassy. We also register members of the Kenya Diaspora Alliance so that it's easy to trace them. But that notwithstanding, Brenda, and I'm glad to hear, if there are 30 Kenyans that have been brought back home, that's commendable. I have my doubts if the number is right, and I'm in this regard quoting my colleagues on the ground in Beirut. They say when they asked the embassy told them 7 people have come. When they asked for details of those 7, they were given details of 2, and I have those details of the 2. The names don't even look like Kenyan. They could be, but then where are the other 5, or where are the other 28? So it would be vital that, because there's a major trust deficit among diasporas of Kenyans at home, and even our government. And we need to work hard to restore that confidence by being truthful. I mean, so there is no point saying numbers that are, if it's true,
all right.
very happy.
So Dr. Ochuodho and Ambassador Romano, we need to wind up this conversation, so I'll give you a minute each. Let's not surpass that minute that I'm giving each one of you. And kindly respond to what the Kenya's embassy in Kuwait is saying. The Kenyan embassy says that the employment and immigration status of the protesters in Beirut is unknown and they have to apply for proper papers. Let me begin with Ambassador Romano in a minute.
How can they apply for any documents when their home is destroyed or they're out in the street, maybe without any money? How can they even pay for a stamp? How can they don't even have transportation? This is all the consulate. This is an emergency situation, Lebanon under emergency situation under the government, under the army. So this is all the consul have to follow up on all these citizens, make sure that his people are safe.
Dr. Ochuodho?
I think, well, obviously people may not travel without certain required papers, documents. My take is that it's the consulate in Kuwait that would give them these papers. Now, if they have beef with the consulate, I would have expected ambassador in Kuwait to either personally have gone to Kuwait, to Beirut, or sent one of his officers or of her officers to Beirut to establish the facts and assist these Kenyans to get documents to travel back home with. And I do appreciate when it says that government expects people to pay and arrange for their own transport. And this responsibility of taking care of the Kenyans stuck in Beirut, to be fair, is not only a responsibility of Kenya government, so equally a responsibility of the government of Lebanon.
Gentlemen,
there are international humanitarian agencies that give support for such people who are stuck. So my premise is, at least there are 70 people who we understand have registered. What has the consulate done to get all those 70 and assist them, give them travel documents and get them back home?
All right, gentlemen, thank you so much for talking to us here on KTN News Center. We've been talking to Ambassador Romano, the Czech representative in Beirut, Ambassador Romano Rad, and also Dr. Shem Ochuodho, the chairman of the diaspora. And of course, as we bring that conversation to an end, we also tried to get a hold of